How do trains work?
Steam engines work in some ways just like a big tea kettle. They heat up water.
It's a great big fire in here, and all this black thing that you see is a boiler full of water. And the steam is all in the boiler. Fire's down on the bottom there, and it curls up around, and this thing looks like it's solid, but it's full of little round tubes called boiler tubes. And the fire actually starts there, goes the whole way through these tubes, and comes out the smokestack. And that fire heats up water, which starts out in the tank back there. You put it in the water, and you boil the water, and that creates the steam to propel the locomotive. The second dome is called the steam dome. That's where they collect the steam to run the locomotive. It starts out at the very top of the boiler, so it's the driest steam possible. Higher up means the steam is hot and is dry. Collected from the throttle, comes down into here, and this is the piston valve here, controls where the steam is let in, and this is the piston itself. And bring the steam down from there into the piston, which is what makes the wheels go, of course. Then when it's done, it goes out through the smokestack.
Once a steam train is underway, it looks and sounds like nothing else. That's why a lot of people love them, even though they are getting pretty old. This is what it looks like inside the engine of a diesel-electric train. As Neil told us, they're different. They have big engines which power an electric generator, which in turn supplies power for electric motors on the wheels. Floyd Johnson showed me around his diesel-electric train.
This is the cow catcher. Anything that's on the rail or close to the rail, before it gets caught up underneath the locomotive and the train, it'll push it aside. It's approximately 4 inches off the rail, so you can, anything that's larger than that, it'll push it off to the side. This is the cut lever that you can disconnect the train, locomotive from the train.
When we pull the cars apart?
Exactly what he did.
So one person can do this?
Yes, oh yes. You lift up, you lift and pull towards you. Which will throw up this lock block, and it'll open the knuckle. Pull apart. This is where the brakemen used to ride years ago. They'd stand on here and...
So what is all this under here? Tell me about that.
Well, this here is actually the speedometer cable. This is what they call the journal. This is where the bearings are that allow the wheel to turn freely with plenty of grease in there. This is a brake piston. When this is sticking out, that means the brakes are applied, which means they're up against the wheel. If I was to release this, the brake shoes would come away from the wheel. This is leaf springs that help support the weight of the locomotive. There's a set of these on each end of it. Kind of disperses the weight. The heaviest part of the locomotive is these traction motors that are inside of each journal on the wheel. They're great big generators themselves that generate the power to move the train. It's really quite... This is our way into the cab of the locomotive. There's steps here. Grab each railing and go up.
And the same thing on this side, just another set of wheels?
Exactly, yeah. No speedometer. This is the sand tube I explained to you earlier. It'll put sand in small increments right in front of the wheel so they won't be slippy when you need sand, like a wet rail or when you travel up a hill. Fuel tanks right over here. This great big monster here. There's a gauge and you can gauge how much fuel you have left. If you run out, then it's a big problem getting that truck to you. So you always want to check that before each trip. This is the filler nozzle. You take this off, and that's how you fill the fuel tank. Oh, here's the air lines to go between each locomotive. Sand, independent, air, actuating line, and the main reservoir. This is the actual brake pipe, the big one in here, the big hose. In this instance, the two brake pipe hoses are too short, so they put an extra, they call a shorty in there between the two of them.
What's it like to drive a train?
If you get to be a train engineer on a rig like this one, you'll be in command of 1,750 horsepower. Now, in order to keep all that under control, you really have to know what you're doing. So we're going to get right up in there in the cab and show you what a train engineer really does.
The first thing we had to do was back up the train to get on the right track to go forward again. Floyd, the engineer, worked the controls, while Neil, the conductor, did the other jobs.
Neil will line me into a different track, the conductor. He'll send me one way. So basically, he steers, but I drive. So if we're going to change direction, he changes direction, and then I take it from there. This is the locomotive brakes set up. This will stop the train. This will stop the locomotive, or you can use them both together to come to a nice bunch stop. This is the throttle. Allows the engine to rev up and deliver more amps to the traction motors. Notch up or notch back, it'll control your speed to some degree. This is the reverser, forward or reverse, like a car would have. This is the transition lever, which they do not use anymore. It's, you put it in run one and it will run the train. This is a little ditch light that when you blow the whistle, it'll oscillate just to get drivers' attention or pedestrians' attention that there is a train coming in case they didn't hear the whistle. This, of course, is the old trusty radio. That's how I communicate with the conductor or the train people on the train.
Trains are constantly being taken apart and put back together so that they can go to a new location. That happens in a switching yard. There can be hundreds of cars, and you need a computer and lots of teamwork to keep track of things.
The conductor and or brakeman will tell me, okay, you can shove the train in so far. If I don't hear from him within half of that distance, I stop the train. You can't just keep shoving, because he told me to shove this far. Something could have happened to him, fallen down, radio break. There's a lot of things that could happen.
As the train started forward, I got to blow the whistle.
Is this the,
Whistle. Try it once. Go ahead.
this is the part I always wanted to do. Now that's fun.
Well, you don't need me anymore. I'll go ahead and get up.
No.
It was fun. But then things get busy, and you really have to pay attention.
There's always something. Kids along the track, animals, a crossing that's not working right. You just have to be focused. You can't be goofing off.
How fast does a train go?
How fast a train goes depends on what it was designed to do, but they can all really move out if they have to.
Well, theoretically, with a steam locomotive, there is no top speed. As much steam as you can supply to it, it'll keep going faster and faster. But what'll happen is the rods here everything is not perfectly in balance, so once you get above a certain speed, it starts vibrating and eventually parts will start flying off of it and beat itself to death. Kind of like an automobile engine. Once you go over a certain RPM, it'll start coming apart. There's a practical rule of thumb. You measure the diameter of the wheels in inches, and that gives you the top speed of the locomotive. This one here is about 44 inches, so 44 miles an hour is the top speed. Probably 35 would be a good reasonable speed that it could run all day in good condition.
This locomotive here, this thing was built in 1953, I believe. It could go probably 80 miles an hour. Pretty fast, but the track we travel on is no more than 10 miles and at times 25 miles an hour. But yeah, they can go 90 miles an hour, even faster than that. In Europe, they have trains that travel a couple hundred miles an hour.
The train's usual speed depends on the conditions of the track, the weather, and the rules. You see, safety is the #1 concern of railroaders.
There's always danger or anything that's moving that kind of speed and so heavy. Equipment failure, that's real scary for us. Break a wheel or a track's being broken, kids playing on the tracks, cars, automobiles, all those sort of things enter into our daily, every day when we're traveling on the rails. And any time, if something doesn't go right, we could be in trouble.
No matter what the speed, you still have to stop. In the old days, brakemen had to ride on top of the cars to stop them. It was dangerous work and a lot of people got hurt. Today, trains have air brakes.
If we want to stop the train, he'll apply air, and it all works on air. So we have air brakes on the train. If we want to slow down, he'll add a little air to the system, and it'll push out the pistons on the brakes and slow the train down.
You also have to study all the information about the other activities that may be scheduled for the tracks that day.
We got a set of orders every morning that track warrants and orders that tell us we're the only train out here in this particular instance. This gives us our authority. We can work between West Yard Limits Woodinville and station sign Scopa on the main track. This is today's date. That's the station where we received our orders at. That's our engine, WCRC 100. There's the dispatcher's OK, and dispatcher's initials.
You get a lot of information before you go out on what...
Before we leave, we have to have one of these, yes.
But mainly, working on a train is fascinating, always a challenge, and fun.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Just about everybody that's here during the steam train operation, some of us are a paid crew, but all of us are here because we love steam trains and love railroading.
I think the friendship with the people I work with out here. And we have to become good friends. It's because we spend hours and hours together. It's not unusual to spend 12 hours a day on a locomotive. So you've got to like the people you're with and the job you're doing. So it's a good job. It's a real good job.
You do a lot of things, see a lot of people, travel. Every trip is different. It's not like going to the same office every day. It's nice. Variety. I like the variety. It's great.
Well, I think we've seen that being a train engineer can be both fun and challenging. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah!
Okay, hey, listen, one other thing, remember, never go near a train without your parents or a trusted adult. Safety first. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. And remember, you can be anything you want to be. So long. Bye.
Hi, kids.
Hi!
Let's see how much fun trains can be, and together we will learn more about them. Watch and see how much you already know.
Hey!
All aboard!
All aboard is what the conductor says just before the train leaves the station, right on schedule.
That's a big train. It's a big train. Amtrak. Amtrak.
Amtrak is the largest passenger-carrying railroad company in North America. There are lots of trains that travel to and from lots of places in America.
America. We're on a train.
Above the rivers, or whatever it's crossing, the train crosses over what is below using a bridge. Below is the river. Above, the train is crossing the...
Bridge.
Very good. Bridges help trains cross rivers, canyons, lakes, and bays. Trains can go over
Over the bridge.
or under the bridges.
Under the bridges.
This train is going
Over the bridge. Over the bridge.
and this train is going.
Under the bridge. Under the bridge.
That's right. Wow, you guys are really smart.